all new Bazaar gameplay. That's it. That's the intro. Let's go and take a look at all of this. So, no deep dive today, first and foremost. There is going to be a lot of new things that we talk about and a lot of updated things that we talk about, but I am not going to have the chance today to go into the details of all of those things. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel or if you're not joined our Discord to get the notifications when these videos go up. I will be covering basically everything that we see in detail going forward. That means all of the nitty-gritty bits that we don't quite see. That includes my interpretation of things, what I think about things, all of that. But that all comes later. Let's just quickly go over everything new we have seen, and there is a lot. Even if you watch those streams, there's still stuff you missed, I can almost guarantee it. So, cracking on, first and foremost, with all of the new encounters and events. Now, yes, there were new encounters and events, but there were also, almost more importantly, loads of updated encounters and events. But let's start with some of those new ones. And actually, the ones that I am most excited about are new events in the game that we have been hearing about. So, these include things like the Fates. Oh, it was so good to see the Fates in the game. As well as Haddy, the street merchant magician man, who if you visit lots of times does things. Again, we'll get into the details. The important takeaway from these are things that we'd heard about. These are things that the Discord had been telling us. We'd heard rumours of them coming into the game, and now they're confirmed. Which means some of the other rumours that we have coming into the game are more likely going to be confirmed from those same sources. So if you haven't already joined the official Bazaar Discord as well, links to that below. The other major thing to come out of the events and encounters for me was the absolute gargantuan increase in what I'm at least going to be calling dynamic events. Now, what is a dynamic event, you ask? Good question. As far as I'm concerned, a dynamic event is one in which you act upon. So let's say we visit event A. We go to event A and they offer us items 1, 2, and 3. We pick one of these items. But then the next time we see event A, maybe 3 days later, if we go to them, they'll do something different depending on which items, 1, 2, or 3, that we purchased. That is a dynamic event. It changes based on your decisions, your choices. So we are seeing a lot more of these in the game. And this was hinted at, but I didn't quite consider how far they were going to go with this. The main example I can pull on is something that I did not see coming at all, which is the tiny furry creature. So previously, the tiny furry creature was just a regular event. I think it was an encounter even. You used to battle it. But what we saw happen this time around was the second option. You can, and I say this to the delight of millions of fans, you can pet the dog in the Bazaar. They added an option for the tiny furry creature for you to pet it. First and foremost, gold star for that. It just has to be in every game. I'm sorry. If you can't pet the dog, it's not a game. So you can pet the tiny furry creature, but when you do so, the next time you pet it, you get more for petting it. You can fight it as well, but that'll just be the regular level 1 encounter. If you pet it twice in a row, it gets better. And if you pet it a third time, there is a special event. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get to see the special event, but we heard it was a special event, and there are, as I say, many more of these dynamic events coming into the game, which I am so happy for. Next up is the start and end of the day. This is where I think we saw the biggest core gameplay change. Now, obviously, we'd heard about things like the Fates coming into the game and stuff like that. That was stuff I was already waiting for and ready for, including something else, but you have to stay around for that. That is coming up, I promise. But the start and end of the day have seen significant changes. Now, the start of the day has potentially seen smaller changes in the end. You might look at it and go, oh, there hasn't been a change. That's exactly as I remember. Previously, the start of the day, you would go to the Vanessa's house or Pygmalion's house, and you would get to choose between adding some health, adding some strength, adding some speed, or maybe adding some gold. I can't quite remember. There were just 4 very vanilla options. Well, now, if you are Pygmalion, you can add some health. But if you are Vanessa or Jules, the add health option isn't there. That's specifically something that Pygmalion is good at, so Pygmalion does that. The the example that I'm really, really excited for, I just love the flavor of this, right? If you start as Jules, so you're on day 2, let's say, beginning of the day, had a decent day before. Your options, at least the 2 options I care about, are to practice and test out new recipes, which increases the joy in which all of your meals provide. So if you're going into that sort of tree, this just helps increase those. It does make those items more important to you because you've buffed them, so selling them is maybe less of an option. But there is an option to push your joy forward. I very nearly... I cannot tell you guys how difficult it is for me to stay on track and not go in depth in all of this stuff. But moving swiftly on, the other option, so if you're not going joy, the other thing you can do is try out new recipes with her daughter. I think Laurel is the name, which is adorable. All of these characters now seem to have quite lore-based different options at the start of the day. We saw a little bit of a hint of this with Dooley, but we just knocked that down to Dooley being a very exceptionally different class. So, moving ahead swiftly to the end of the day, this is where we saw the biggest changes. So, at the end of the day, previously, you used to choose between healing, adding some strength, adding some health, adding some speed. It was very stat-based, heavily stat-based, and it was just sort of your last checkbox of the day. But it was your entire last encounter and didn't really feel like an encounter. Oh boy, it now feels like an encounter. So, your choices are effectively to heal, and you can keep healing. I think there was a rumor that this shouldn't be a thing, and that if you pick heal, you'll just heal once. You might not get to full, but you'll heal a decent amount. So you could choose heal, or you could buy an item. Forger actually offered an item. Now, I think this comes, and again, I'll try to not dive deep into this, but I think this comes from way back in the day. I think a year and a half ago, maybe? Where Forger at the end of the day would let you upgrade the level of your items. This is back when items had levels. They're trying to sort of pull that back in, right? Because you can now search for shinies and fancies. Forger at the end of the day is supposed to help you get your shinies and fancies. Now, you might say, Greg, but all I can do is heal or pick an item. That's not going to help. Well, this is the first bit of controversy for me that came from these streams. Forger has a reroll option. I know. We've been saying for years now that the Bazaar won't have a meta because you can't reroll anything. Therefore, it's so hard to force anything. Like, you can go to specific merchants, but there's no guarantee you'll find the thing you need. At the end of the day, now if you have enough money, you haven't spent it throughout any of the other encounters, you can reroll as much as you like for the item that you want. Now, you will be playing a specific class, so if you're playing Pygmalion, you can't just reroll until you see Vanessa's ice cubes. But if you are Pygmalion, and let's say you want some ointment, maybe you're trying to get an ointment to fancy, maybe it just fits your build perfectly, maybe it's a broken item in the current patch. If you go to enough PvE encounters during the day and clear through enough gold, you can just reroll and reroll and reroll until you get it before you go into your final fight for that day. So, I am somewhat against reroll, but we've just got to give it a chance, see where it goes. The devs haven't done us wrong so far, but I am now slightly more concerned that there may be a meta that evolves. I apologise for diving into that. We will get more into that, believe it or not, in a future video. So let's move on to some more exciting and other new things. There's been a lot of development in the game system as well. I say a lot, some. And this is a game system we kind of knew was coming, but it's really good to see it in action, and it's actually pixel perfect for what was described to us. And that's the choice of encounter at the end of the day. You finally get to choose who you will fight. Now, that might sound like an okay thing. Okay, it's not changing the game or anything, but that's actually huge. Like, imagine you are a Pygmalion player and you're going strong into shielding, right? Your whole build revolves around shielding. If you see a Jules option at the end of the day, you can bypass it. You can go fight Vanessa and just laugh as she shoots at your bajillion shields. Now, you're not guaranteed to get a Jules or a Vanessa that is using the build that you want to fight, Because all it tells you at the end of the day, as we kind of expected, is the class. So are you fighting a Jules? Are you fighting a Stel? Are you fighting a Dooley? It will tell you their rank. There will be one person who is about the same rank as you. There'll be one person who is less ranked than you, and one person who is higher ranked than you. If you fight the lower ranked person, you're going to get less trophies or less MMR or whatever from that fight. If you fight the higher ranked person, you'll get more MMR or more trophies from that fight. And if you fight the person who's the same as you get the same. You do also get to see their hero stats, so their health, their strength, their speed, etc. And you get to see their hero skills, so that's their sort of hero powers if we were playing a different game, which augment their abilities and augment their stats. But you do not get to see their items, you don't get to see their cards. That is hidden. So you can make your best guess at what they have based on their hero skills and their stats, but at the end of the day, they could just be pulling a fast one on you. So it's a great thing to add into the game, but it doesn't guarantee things. Anyway, spent too much time on that. Let's move on to the UI. Now, this has seen a lot of touch-ups, but there is still a long way to go with some things. So, one of the very first things I actually noticed, because this has been bugging me for so long, the locked slots fit in the boxes. I don't know why it took this long to do, but equally, I don't know if it's that important at all while testing the gameplay and mechanics and systems of a game. But it was driving me mad that the lock slots were always slightly off-center or tilted or at a different skew. They now fit perfectly, which might sound like a complete side point, and it probably is, but to me, it says, A, I can look at the game of the Bazaar without tilting my head again, and B, it tells me, more importantly, that the game is getting to those final levels of polish. They are starting to do those passes of, okay, let's make this side system fit slightly better. Let's replace that placeholder art. Let's reimagine how we're storing our art assets, which is something they're doing at the moment, trying to make the file size smaller, which basically means less cost for them, faster game for us, and hopefully the visuals stay the same. But speaking of visuals, the VFX, or visual effects, are still somewhat lackluster. Now, that is not to say, and please don't turn off there, the visual effects are not going to be lackluster, they just are currently lackluster. So, things like upgrading your item is going to look fantastic. Choosing between which fancy item you want is going to look fantastic. The battles are going to look fantastic. We've started to see how channeled effects work now. Those laser beams are great. We're going to see more of that. The game is going to flash more now that we have some of the core stuff out of the way. So, expect more updates on flashy stuff soon, I guess. And another thing that we should be expecting updates on in the future, stuff that still needs work, is the storefront and rewards. We saw a little bit of them. They definitely come ahead from where they were, but they're still very much not finished. So we saw things like different levels of chests that you could spend your points on, or credits, or in-game currency, I'm not sure. But we saw a lot of different elements. The library of items seems to become a lot further forward. The storefront has some exceptional skins. The Jules skin with the octopus and the giant ladle looked fantastic. The Pygmalion skin where he's like petting his little piggy bank as if he's some Bond villain. Exquisite. The Chad Mac that we've all seen. That's actually just Mac the Magician, but he's still Chad Mac. Anyway, a lot of excellent skins coming to the store, and there'll be more updates from me and from them on the storefront and reward systems and all of that coming later on, so please do subscribe. Now, if this has remotely caught your interest, then the next video you will definitely want to check out is all of those new items, because my god, there is some crazy stuff in there. It's completely shifted up the meta. There are completely different rules that are written, and oh yeah, by the way, Stel's good now, so yeah, check